Y'all heard that? Got me a theme song, man. I got me a theme song. Man, we got a league, we got a group chat, we got a commissioner. Now we got a show. The Cruise Dynasty Podcast, the show, the voice of the Cruise Dynasty Podcast, Matt Ham. Shoot, I'm gonna do a little demo episode. I'm gonna talk a little fantasy football for y'all fellas. See how long that I could go. And then hopefully I'm going to be putting this junk on a podcast and sending it out to the world. Making a name. We're just going to get the podcast out. See if we can get some people to listen to it. But at the very least, I need to be getting a video sent to y'all. Or not a video, but a little recording sent to y'all once a week. Breaking down the matchups and whatnot. But with that said, let's crack us open a cold one. Roll us up a fatty. Do whatever you got to do to get your mind right, because we're going to talk the Cruise Dynasty League. I'm going to go through and break down everybody's rosters. I'm going to look at some of the players. Maybe we'll talk about some of the moves, free agencies. I'm basically going to rank them. Let y'all know where everybody stands, because some of y'all, like Dunk, living in La La Land, talking about Crown Me. The dude's, he's tier 2, fellas. He's tier 2. So we're going to put people like Dunk in his place today. And let's just start from the top. Man. I'm going to break it down into 3 tiers. So we'll start in the bottom tier, and then I'll rank them from 10 on up. So let's just start off. Let's just look at Jordan Harris. He starts off. He's got Josh Allen, and then at running back he's got Nick Chubb and Devin Singletary. So first of all, this is just a terrible running back room. And if you go through his roster, he's got Cortland Sutton, who was a big winner in that free agency. No, not free agency. The big Russell Wilson trade from Seattle to Denver. He gets a big boost. I think there's a big argument on trying to figure out who is the number 1 guy in Denver. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be Jerry Jeudy? Is it going to be Sutton? I know Sutton had that 1 year. Let's see. 2019 in PPR, he finished 19th. Had 124 targets, 72 receptions, 1,100 yards. Jerry Jeudy, he's basically been a bust this whole time, but he hasn't had any good quarterbacks. He's got Thielen. I offered Jordan a second rounder for Thielen one day, and he wouldn't even do it. I was like, this dude's a fool, man. He has no clue what's going on. Got Waller. I ain't really high on Waller, but if you want a tight end, there's only about like 5 or 6 that you want. So he's solid. But then here we go. This is the one we got to bring it up. We have to bring it up, fellas. I see Tyler Lockett in his lineup. This dude Jordan gave it the 104 for Tyler Lockett. And that's a shame. Because I've offered him way more for some of his lower picks. He won't even take it. So David's got him shook. Jordan hasn't even made a trade since that day. Except for when I was trading Nick Chubb. Let's see. He traded me Nick Chubb. I traded him back. That dude's a clown, man. But assuming he goes Breece Hall with his number 1 pick, he should be able to get a couple good wide receivers. He's got the 6th, the 9th, the 10th. He really should come away with about 3 or 4 solid wide receivers. So, just to give it a little context here, I forgot to say this, but the NFL draft has ended. We're just waiting on the rookie draft. So if I'm for the league's rookie draft. So if I'm just looking at Jordan's, this dude has a terrible roster, but he does have some draft capital. Let's move on to old Christopher's. And I was looking at Chris's team, and I was thinking, man, I'm about to take a huge dump on Chris's team. But Chris's team, it's really kind of solid. Like, I don't really see him finishing last this year. He starts off, he's got Lamar Jackson, who he got from me in a big blockbuster trade that sent me ETN. I see he's got Aaron Jones and James Conner as his running backs, who finished 5th last year. 5th. Now, I don't think he has the same production because he had, let's check it out. How many touchdowns did he have? It was insane. 15 touchdowns. Now, I don't think he gets 15 touchdowns, but if you look at his running back room with Aaron Jones, with the re-signing of Aaron Rodgers, you got to think he's in a better spot than he would be if they was moving on to Jordan Love, because then you would think they're probably moving on from Aaron Jones too. But, I think he'll be good, solid for like 2 more seasons. Mike Williams re-signs with the Chargers. That was probably the best move for Mike Williams, because if he goes somewhere different, you never know what kind of production he's going to give off. Amari Cooper. Now, Amari Cooper is a huge winner. This is Chris's biggest win in the offseason, I believe, Amari Cooper. With the, the trade of Deshaun Watson, Amari Cooper was already there. He's had a pretty good career, some wide receiver one. He was a wide receiver one in 2019. I think with Deshaun Watson, I think you had the potential for Amari Cooper to be a number 1 wide receiver again. I mean, this dude has basically teamed up with a top. I got Deshaun Watson number 4 in my dynasty rankings. This dude has teamed up with which is a major upgrade from Dak Prescott. I ain't hating on Dak Prescott, but he's no Deshaun Watson. Amari Cooper. And then let's go to another win Chris had. Juju Smith-Schuster signed with the Kansas City Chiefs. It's just like, Chris, what you fixing to do with Juju Smith-Schuster? Like, I got, for example, do you think he's only 25 years old? You going to hold on to him for the next 3 to 4 years? I'm thinking, I got Juju Smith-Schuster, the Superflex League. The minute he has some success with Pat Mahomes, boop, I'm shipping him off. And I'm getting him out of town for as much value as I can, because I don't really care about having him. And if you're not in win now mode, what's the point of really having him? I see you got St. Brown down there in your taxi. So Chris, you got a solid roster. You just need to build your draft capital up. Send some of these players away. Get you some draft picks. Oh, man, fellas. Underrated. This is an underrated move. Rondale Moore. Because, I don't know, man. I was going to say Rondale Moore has some good value, but now that Marquise Brown done stole the show, Rondale Moore loses some value. Let's go to another rebuilder who took a long time to admit he was in rebuild mode, but when you looked at his team, he had no choice. And he's the commissioner of our league, and I know you probably shouldn't badmouth the commissioner of the league, but I'm gonna. This dude's team is complete garbage. I look at his running backs. His running backs are right now, and I remind you, this is after the NFL draft, so we have landing destinations, and but we have not done our rookie draft yet. So I'm just looking at Akil's. I'm just judging his team, because when you look down, he has the number 2 pick, number 3 pick. He's got 2 second-round picks, so he's going to get at least 3 solid players added to this team. But when you look at it right now, he's got Russell Wilson, who we kind of mentioned earlier. Russell Wilson, I think, benefits big time leaving Seattle and going to Denver. I think Denver's going to allow Russell Wilson to cook a little bit, where it was a little different with Pete Carroll in Seattle with a run-heavy offense. even back in the days with Marshawn Lynch. But I mean, they still always wanted to pound the rock. That's just how they play in Seattle. But in Denver, it just allows Russell Wilson to cook. I know Jared Judy and Cortland Sutton, like, are they as good as DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett? Like, I don't think so. But when you add in running backs, brand new head coach, offensive minded, and a division that's going to be scoring a lot of points, you got to like Russell Wilson. But let's move on to Akil's running backs real quick. Rashad Penny and Chase Edmonds. When Akil told me he had, he's like, when he does that trade with Zabil, he gives him Tyreek Hill, and he's like, man, I got Chase Edmonds. I'm thinking, Chase Edmonds? Are you serious, Akil? This dude? I mean, come on, man. Finished 34 last year. He goes to Miami where there's like a million running backs. Like, there's like 4 or 5 running backs. I'm just thinking Zamil was in a tough spot. Akil to bailed his ass out, because I'm looking at this. I'm thinking, you gave away Cam Akers, and the best you could come away with was Chase Edmonds. And DK Metcalf. He gets DK Metcalf, who, because of the Russell Wilson trade, this dude's value plummets. Maybe they can get a quarterback. Baker Mayfield. They didn't get one in the draft, so they're rolling with Drew Lock. DK Metcalf's value just plummets, man. I would stay away from him. I would have never got him, first of all. That was the trade rate, at least for the time being. It might change in the future, but Akil, he still got Waddle, one of his prized possessions. Waddle, what happens to Waddle with that Tyreek Hill trade? Does he go down a little bit? I think he might go down, like his ceiling is capped off a little bit. But I think he's still going to be good. Like, teams, can Tua support 2 receivers? I do believe he can. It's like Joe Burrow with T. Higgins and Jamar. Teams with duos, Godwin, Evans. I think we're just looking at Waddle and Tyreek. I think the production will still be there. Michael Thomas, he's done. Not even going to talk about it. He's got Aaron Rodgers on his bench. So, yeah, that's, he's got Russell Gage. I'm looking at his bench. Joku could be a key piece for Akil, but Akil, he's clearly in rebuilding mode, and if you're looking at his team right now, he's going to be in rebuilding mode for a while. He's in a rough spot. Let's just put it like that. He really needed the one-on-one. He should have tried to work. He probably did try to work out. I don't know. If you're hearing this before you do the rookie draft, you need to get the one-on-one to kill, or you're in trouble. But let's move to my last rebuilder, and that is my guy, DT. And DT, I got to give him a little credit, because I look at his team, and it's solid. Like, he's made some solid moves. Now, I would not have given away. That's the thing, man. You make some solid moves, but you also make some boneheaded decisions. Like, you're in a rebuilding, and then you trade and go get Kamara. Like, I don't know. But for your future, that's just, I don't know, man. It's just not a good decision. But with that said, for the time being, it's not like you're going to be finishing last this year. Like, your second running back is Kenyon Drake. So, you're... Yeah, David, your team is pathetic. You're in the back. I was going to say you were my sleeper team. I'll say this. You've accumulated some young talent. Derek Carr, he was a winner in the offseason by getting Devontae Adams in that trade. You got Tua, who was a big winner, getting Tyreek Hill. So you got quarterbacks who are winners. You're sitting at a good spot. You got Kamara, who's capable of giving a running back one season. But Kenyon Drake is your number 2. You got Allen Robinson, who he signed a 3-year deal with the LA Rams, so he'll be the number 2 behind Cooper Kupp. I think that's a huge win for you, David. Allen Robinson leaving Chicago. You traded Gallup. I remember thinking you was crazy because you were saying stuff about Gallup. You was like, man, he's my guy, man. I had to go get my guy. But you know what? I think that was a good move by you. Next, you got Pittman, who let's be honest, Pittman's a big winner with Matty Ice. You replace Carson Wentz with Matt Ryan, some stability. It's not like they're going to be throwing a bunch of deep balls. We're going to be seeing a bunch of short, intermediate routes to Michael Pittman, and I like it. I think it's a big win. I've been trying to get Pittman from Hakeem Thomas. He won't give him up. I don't want to give up too much, but, you know, I think that's a good value to have. There's no doubt about it. But let's move on. Let's see. He's got Zach Ertz at tight end. Nothing special there, but he is in a good offense. DJ Moore. And look, man, I'm a DJ Moore guy. I think if this guy had a quarterback, we'd be talking about this as a a wide receiver one, year in, year out. But this guy has no help. He's playing with Sam Darnold. This dude's a bust. So that's like a wasted position. And I look right under him. He's got Devontae Smith. That, man, after the blockbuster trade during the draft, those Tennessee Titans sent A.J. Brown to the Philadelphia Eagles. And that just devastates Devontae Smith's value, I think. In a run-heavy offense, he's the number 2 guy. Along with DJ Moore. I mean, that's just basically 2 wasted positions. I know you got, you got the 5th pick in the draft. Got Chris Godwin coming back, who's a winner with Tom Brady coming back. So he comes out on top. It's like I said, David. You got a decent team. You're not going to finish last. So if I'm ranking them right now, off the top of my head, I'm going to say Akil finishes dead last, 10th place. 9th place, I'm going to say Jordan Harris. I mean, that dude's got a terrible team. He does have a lot of draft picks, but let's be honest. This dude's probably going to mess it up. He's very capable of screwing things up. He does it all the time. I do see him finishing last, getting a Nancy Pelosi tattoo on his shoulder, a President Obama tattoo on his back. I can't wait to see it. Then I say finishing 8th would be Chris. Chris has got a good team. He's got a lack of draft capital, but I still think he finishes 8th. And then 7th, I'm topping it off with David, who got killed by the Panthers. I don't think they took a quarterback. If they did, I can't remember. Maybe Corral. Can't remember for sure. Fresh out of the draft. It just ended yesterday. So I wasn't really interested where these quarterbacks were going anyways. But with that said, let's just move on to Tier 2. And when I say Tier 2, from Tier 2 on, anybody could win the championship. If I say you're 6th place today, you could still win the championship, and I wouldn't be shocked. Now, those last 4 that I just said, Chris, Jordan, Akil, David, if one of them won this year, I'd be stunned. There'd be a lot of injuries going on around or something. But Tier 2, I think you have a less chance of winning. But if you won, I wouldn't be totally surprised. So Tier 2, let's start it off with the defending Super Bowl champ, Micah Mitchell, Goggles 24. I look at Goggles, and I'm thinking, this dude, he's set at quarterback. Herbert, he's going to be set for the next, 8 years. I look at his running backs. He's got Ezekiel Elliott and Montgomery. And one thing I've noticed about our league, the top people in the league, they are loaded at running back. You got to have a two top 5 running backs, or you have to have some sort of answer for top-notch production in this fantasy league if you want to compete for the championship. And I look at Micah's running backs, and he might have one of the worst running back rooms in the league. Ezekiel Elliott, who's clearly on the downcline. David Montgomery. Yeah, if I do say this correctly, I look at Goggles' roster. He's got David Montgomery. Under his nickname is Bedwetter. So he's not sitting at a good spot at running back, but switch it over. Let's go to receivers, and this dude's stacked, and this dude's loaded, and this is why I got to say he could still win the championship. He's got Debo Samuel. With that said, Debo Samuel has trade rumors going on. He wants out of San Francisco, and I think I even heard it had something to do with his production. He's might be getting tired of being used so much. So, like, think about where you have Debo Samuel in your like dynasty rankings. I had him at 6. If he gets traded to, say, the Jets, who've been looking into him, I mean, the dude definitely takes a tumble, maybe even out of the top 10. But would I want Debo Samuel on my team? Yes, he would still be a wide receiver 1, even with whatever limited targets he's going to get, just on talent alone. Next, he has Keenan Allen, the number 1 guy in a high-powered offense. Obviously, you want Keenan Allen. Finished 10th last year. There's no doubt. Tight end Travis Kelce. It's like I said. There's a limited amount of tight ends. If you can get one of these top 5 or 6 guys, get them and hold on to them. Travis Kelce solidifies the tight end spot for Mike. And then moving on, you can see Mike Evans, who, when you saw the trade at first with John, Tom Brady was retired, you thought Michael was just a full-out loser in the trade with getting Ezekiel Elliott. But Mike Evans is a winner with Tom Brady, and you think Tom Brady's probably going to be back for the next 2 years, I would say. So Mike Evans, big winner. Then Deontay Johnson. And Deontay Johnson, I had him on my squad last year. Finished 8th last year. I know some of y'all like to trash him, like, he's a bum, blah, blah, blah. But he catches a lot of these routes close to the line of scrimmage, catches a lot of balls. I'm not saying he's like this. I mean, he was playing with Big Ben, but I think Mr. Trubisky would be able to get him the ball just as good as Big Ben, who was pretty bad. But Deontay Johnson did gain the benefits of playing with Big Ben. So maybe the dynamic changes a little bit with Trubisky. It's just a bit in the unknown. But, yeah, I look at Mike's team, and he's got a couple second-round picks. Depth-wise, nothing to be worried about. Like, he's got Jarvis Landry. I don't think he's even signed yet. Gronk. I mean, he might get another year out of Gronk. Tyler Boyd. Under his thing, it says, Boyd the bitch. So we know he's a bum. So, Goggles, your team's just, I mean, that's why I got you ranked 6. And I'm just going to kick back and take a big sip of the big old gulp of some brewski before I get to my number 5. Because number 5 is one that I just can't wait to talk about. His name's Brandon Duncan. This dude's going to be straight up offended that I got him ranked at number 5. And I'm looking at this dude's team and I'm like, bro, if you want to be a big dog, you shouldn't give up your big dogs. And I look at your squad, and at quarterback, you got Joe Burrow. He's good. Top 5 dynasty. He's got a powerful offense. Of course, we're rolling with Joe Burrow. But let's move on to your running backs. If you want to compete in this league, you got to be loaded at running back. You got to have, 2 top 5 guys, 2 top 6 guys, or some type of answer that could give you top 5 to top 7 production from your running backs, not from 1, but from 2 guys. So I look at Dunk's team, and he's rolling with Dalvin Cook, and his number 2 guy is Cam Akers. And if I do remember so correctly, my guy Dunk with a kill traded Michael Pittman for Cam Akers. We clowned this man. I hopped on that pile too. I mean, I thought it was funny. This dude Cam Akers is a bum. I'm not really sure where the hype came from. He's going to be a bum next year. But I would laugh at you if you had this as your number 3 guy, but you got this as your number 2 guy. And Dalvin Cook is your number 1 guy. He's been unreliable the last couple years. Finished 16th last year. Barely stayed on the field. There's a reason why he's been bouncing around our league, just being passed around like a blunt. Nobody wants him. It's just, I don't know. Your running back room is suspect at best. I'm not saying it's Micah bad, But you're sitting in a tough spot, and the thing is I'm sitting here with a big smile on my face because you could have Najee Harris at Javonte Williams. Now I know Melvin Gordon just signed with Javonte Williams, but he's with the Denver Broncos. So Javonte, he takes a step back, but he's still a top 5 dynasty prospect. You could have both of them, Najee and Javonte. Instead, you're rolling into the year with Dalvin Cook and Cam Akers. Now let's move on. Jamar Chase, you trade Rape to Kill. You gave him Waddle. Waddle's a good player, but he's no Jamar. So you're set there. But let's just move on to A.J. Brown, who, if I remember correctly, you had him called Doo-Doo Brown. I mean, do I need to say more? Nah, I'm just kidding. A.J. Brown just got traded to... Who did he get traded to? He just got traded to the Philadelphia Eagles, and I've been looking around, reading some stuff, and seeing what people are saying about this. And around the fantasy world, I'm seeing that A.J. Brown is dropping a couple spots. And to me, I say that's crazy. I think this move, if anything, from Tennessee to Philly is a lateral move, if not a little bit better. Now, we was clown to dunk the night. The trade goes down. But I think if you look at it objectively, he goes from Tannehill to Hurts. I know they were a run-heavy offense, but he will be the number one guy, which is why I mentioned Devontae Smith. If you can get rid of him, get rid of him, because you don't want to be stuck holding that bag. A.J. Brown, I think, still has the same production. He's just still going to be the same type of player. Like, I got him 5th in my dynasty rankings. I know some people have him as high as 3. That's not me. But if you had him 3 in Tennessee, you should keep him 3 in Philly. It's basically a lateral move. If not, he gets a better quarterback now. The thing is with A.J. Brown is he's going to have boom or bust games. He's going to give you games where he gives you a ton of points, and then he's going to give you games where he gives you 0. He's not like a PPR dream. He'll give you these explosive games. He's going to give you some losses. That's just the way it is with Doo-Doo Brown. A.J. Brown. So, like, would I want him on my team? But I would want him on my team. But in this league, if you want to compete with the big dogs, you want to be in Tier 1, you need to be solidified. But 2 top 5 guys, I'll give you credit. Kyle Pitts, all the way, 100%. Let's talk about Elijah Moore, who I gave you in a trade. I was very high on Elijah Moore. I think he has the opportunity to be in a pretty good offense, but does his value go down any getting paired up with the draft of Garrett Wilson? I think it does a little bit. I think it does in a different way than, say, Drake London, who was projected to go there. If he goes to the Jets, I think his impact, I just don't think it interrupts with each other as much. I think Garrett Wilson is a little more similar. I think he has the potential to take targets away from Elijah Moore. So it's tough. I think he has wide receiver 2 ability. Then we go to Jerry Jeudy, and it's just a toss-up, man. It's a toss-up. This could be a big win for you. I think it's a big win, but he could still be the number 2 guy. Is Russ going to be supporting 2 guys, 2 running backs? I mean, Jared Judy's he's going to be in a good offense. I like him. I know when you think about another wide receiver too, so you're solid at wide receiver, Dunk. You're solid. You're terrible at running back. You're solid at wide receiver, and I like your depth. So, top of tier 2 is just where you belong. I think Travis Etienne, I see him on your bench, he has the potential to be the number 1 running back on your team. Does that put you in a position to win the championship? I just don't think so. But, so, in summary, like Dunk, do I like your team? Yes. You have a good team. Do I think you're competing? No. I think your chance to compete, you had 2 top running backs. You got rid of them, man. You got rid of them. Running backs, they rule the world. So, with that said, Micah, ranked number 6. Big Dunk, ranked number 5, right where he belongs. But let's get to the big boys. Let's get to the guys who have they're loaded at running back. They got wide receivers. let's see where we stand. Uh, these are the four teams who I think have the highest chance to win. And let's just start. Let's just start with my brother. My brother. This is my brother. Let's start with John John. And I always forget about his team every year. Okay. I always look at John John's team and just surprised how stacked it is. His team is pretty stacked. It lacks some depth. But could John John win the championship? And yes, and this is where I got to start. Kyler Murray. We're talking about a top 5, 6 guy. I mean, he's got Tom Brady as his backup, so he's stable at quarterback. But we get down to running backs, and this is what I'm talking about. Christian McCaffrey and Joe Mixon. Loaded. He's stacked. Joe Mixon, I know he's getting up there in age. Like, how old is he? He's 25 years old. Well, he's not that old, but he's been in the league 5 years. He was the running back number 4 last year. Let's just look and see how many carries he had. 292 carries last year. 292 carries. There's no reason to think that's stopping. He's going to be well over 275 again this year. Same team, same explosive offense. I mean, Joe Mixon. You got to love it. Christian McCaffrey, even though he's been out these past couple of years, if he stays healthy, that's the thing about John John. John John's team has questions. It's got a little bit of age, a little bit of years, but when you look at it, if Christian McCaffrey comes back to be just a fraction of the player he can be, this dude, John John, is stacked. So let's go to his third running back, because it's right here in his flex, and it's Leonard Fournette, who is a huge winner with Tom Brady coming back. Huge. I think you got to like having 3 running backs, the main guy on your team, catching the ball out of the backfield. If they're not catching the ball out of the backfield, then they're getting close to 300 attempts. Loaded that running back, and you got to be stacked at running back. Let's move to the wide receivers. Stephon Diggs signs a 4-year deal with the Buffalo Bills, teaming up with Josh Allen for another 4. And to me, I mean, it moves him up in my, like, Stephon Diggs. In your dynasty rankings, just ask yourself, Stephon Diggs, Deebo Samuel. Stephon Diggs, A.J. Brown. Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill. I mean, I'm taking Stephon Diggs. And pretty much, I think in all 3 of those situations, I'm taking Stephon Diggs. His value goes way up, knowing that his future is secured with Josh Allen. I mean, he still gave you a wide receiver 7 year last year. I mean, let's move D-Hop. See, this is just another one of those questions where we ask, is D-Hop going to give you a wide receiver 1 year? I think he does have the potential. I mean, they got Marquise Brown. If DeAndre Hopkins is there and he's healthy, Marquise Brown is no threat to take a majority of targets away from D-Hop. So if D-Hop can give you another wide receiver 1 year, you're sitting in the driver's seat. So, like I said, Tom Brady as his backup quarterback. John John, he has a lack of depth, but he's set at tight end. Got Freiermuth, Gesicki, Kittle. So get at him. Somebody send him a trade for a tight end if you need one. But one last thing. I know John he has the 7th pick in the draft, but let's see, what's his name? Rashad Bateman, big winner in the Marquise Brown trade. I think Rashad Bateman is just primed to come right in. Gives John John some depth at the wide receiver that he needs. He's setting good. Let's move on to Will Savage. And Will Savage, along with my brother, I think if you look at their teams, they are in Tier 1, but their window is definitely smaller. I feel like John John will need to win a championship within the next 1, maybe 2 seasons. Then it's time to sell some of their key guys, because I look at Will's team, and his quarterback is Dak Prescott. Fine. Quarterback's not that valuable in our league, but, you want to have a good one. But at running back, he's got Austin Eckler and Derrick Henry. Austin Eckler is interesting because he's so good, finished number 2, but he's always wanted to take a lighter load, and the Chargers go and get Isaiah Spiller. So how big of a chunk does he? I think he definitely takes a little bit of production away from Austin Eckler. Like, can Austin Eckler give you a number 1 a RB1 season, of course, but I think number 2, it's a stretch. But if he gives you the same production he's been giving you, I mean, that's a huge win. And that's why we got to look at Derrick Henry. And this is the one I look at Will and it's like, this is a risk. Age 28, 6th year in the league. I mean, this dude is getting carries. He's gotten over 300 carries twice. I mean, at 2020, he got 378 carries. Last year, he got a little banged up. He tried to come back for the playoffs, wasn't himself. What do you think about Derrick Henry? Like, I don't know. I think this year could be the year where it's all over. And if it is, Will's done. Will has to have Derrick Henry because his next running back line is Austin Gibson. Or not Austin Gibson, Antonio Gibson. And Antonio Gibson, man, he gave you 2 RB1 years in a row. Let me look. Yep. Well, he finished 13th in 2020, but still, basically 2 RB1 years. I'm pretty sure they just drafted Brian Robinson. They got McKissick and what's his name on my team, Jared Patterson. So there's a lot of I just don't know what to think about. I think Antonio Gibson, we're looking at bust material, and that's weird to say because he was been a pretty good running back these past couple of years. I think you need to stay away from Antonio Gibson. I think it's a possibility he might get replaced by Robinson. But let's move on to receivers. Terry McLaurin, Justin Jefferson, Hunter Renfrow. So he's got a good receiving core. McLaurin, is he a winner with Carson Wentz? I believe he is. Carson Wentz is a better quarterback than Heineke, Heinehead. But anyways, I think a main reason why Will is sitting in prime position for a chance to win the championship this year is he makes the big blockbuster trade to Akil Galani for Devontae Adams. And I think he way overpaid for Devontae. Like, I wouldn't be giving him that much. Like, obviously his production is coming down from working with Aaron Rodgers, who basically targeted it on every single play. Now he's going to be playing with Derek Carr, who I think is going to be targeting him a lot, and I think the production is going to be there, but he's still got Waller. He's got Hunter Renfrow. I mean, I think Hunter Renfrow is a big winner in the Devontae Adams. I think it frees him up more. But it definitely puts Will in a pretty good position. Like, he could just sit McLaurin out and go Renfrow. Well, dang, he's going to have Renfrow and Adams on the same team. What do you do? Got Justin Jefferson. I trade rate Will. I gave him Gibson for CeeDee Lamb. Man, that was a win right there. There's no doubt about it. That was a win. But it's like I said, Will and John, I got them in the same boat. They could win it this year. They could win it next year, but their windows are a whole lot shorter than. Let's just get to the next one. Zamil, Galani, tailor-made, and first of all, Zamil's team is stacked from top to bottom. Let's see, I would say maybe a month ago, this dude definitely had a depth problem. I mean, he had DK Metcalf. Who else did he have? He didn't have Tyreek Hill, but let's see, he had. I can't even remember the trade, but he was definitely in a tough spot. But Akil bails him out, of course. He bails him out, calls it the brother, but it wasn't nearly as big as a bailout as when Dunk makes this crazy trade. Gives him Patrick Mahomes, gives him Najee Harris. So basically when Dunk and Zamil make that trade, it turns the whole league upside down, and now you have to go get players. So you look at running backs. I mean, well, let's just start from the top. Patrick Mahomes. You got a top 3 quarterback. So quarterbacks are not as valuable in our league, but if you got a top one, it's good to have. So Zamil has a top quarterback. Then you go to his running backs. He's got Jonathan Taylor, the top dog, the head honcho. He's the clear-cut number 1, and then has Najee Harris, who last year finished at number 3. I know he's 24, probably turned 25 once the season starts. Still just stacked at running back. If you want to compete in this league, you got to be stacked at running back, or you have to have some type of answer at the running back position. And We've seen that with John. He's got Mixon, McCaffrey, Fournette. Will's got Derrick Henry, Eckler, and even if I believe it's shaky, he has an answer for it. We got to go to Zamil. He's got 2 top 5 dynasty running backs, and then his next running back is Saquon Barkley. Now I don't know. I just don't know if I would have traded Cam Akers. I'm not a Cam Akers guy, but I don't know if I would have given Cam Akers and gotten Saquon back. That just seems like a loss. But Tyreek Hill, you make the trade for Tyreek Hill, then he gets traded. So I think his dynasty value goes down a little bit. But I think Tyreek Hill can still give you 2 or 3 good years. Like, I'm higher on Tyreek Hill than I am Devontae Adams going and playing in Las Vegas. I think it's just the situation. This offense is going to be a little wide open, getting the ball to your players. Tyreek Hill's going to touch the ball. There's even talks about him returning punts. I think him and Waddle are both going to be successful. Tua, if you're in a super flex league and you got Tua, keep him, hold on, try to get Tua. But, yeah, I'm thinking that Tyreek Hill move, although obviously his production is going to come down from working with Patrick Mahomes to now Tua, but I still think you get 2-3 years of good production from him. Low wide receiver 1, T. Higgins. With Joe Burrow, there's not really much to be said about him. Top 10 guy. I got him 10th in my dynasty rankings in an explosive offense. Could give you wide receiver 1 numbers at any moment. I always say this. I'm a Clemson fan. I watch Clemson religiously. Wide receiver even though we slacked, especially last year. But out of all the players, T. Higgins is the GOAT of wide receivers. This dude was the best. He was better than Sammy Watkins, better than Ross, better than anybody. I'm a T. Higgins guy. Darnell Mooney, you don't really think about him too much, but if you go and look, he finished number 23 last year. That's some depth that Zamil has. Tight end, obviously, Mark Andrews. If you either want Mark Andrews or Kyle Pitts. I mean, I'm a Mark Andrews guy myself. You look at his, you look at his depth. His depth is okay, like nothing to be special, but he's got 2 picks in the first round, so Zamil I think Zamil is in a different boat than Will and John. I think Zamil, he could win the championship this year. His championship window is open a little bit longer. Like, if he doesn't win it this year, he could win it for the next 2, 3, 4, along with your boy, Matt Ham 12. And, I mean, if I just look at my team and I'm thinking my team's about to go stupid, dumb Ham up in this thing, because I went from players like Myles Gaskins to Gibson to, Swift and Dobbins. Like, my team is definitely in a time period where if I don't win it this year, I can win it for the next 3 or 4. I'm young. I'm explosive. Let's start from the top. I got Bill Cosby, a.k.a. Deshaun Watson. And it's like I said earlier, this dude is a top 4 dynasty ranked quarterback. Like, this is my quarterback rankings. Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Deshaun Watson, Kyler Murray, Joe Burrow. This dude is top of the line. A quarterback that I can have on my team for the next 7 to 8 years. He's going to be playing with Cooper on the best roster he's ever played with, the best O-line, the best running backs. I mean, it's not the best receiver, but he's got some tight ends. I mean, Deshaun Watson is set up to succeed with the Doo-Doo Browns. I got DeAndre Swift and J.K. Dobbins as my 2 running backs. I mean, DeAndre Swift is number 3 in my running back rankings. This dude is, regardless, he's a top 5 running back value, and I mean, why not? I think he's primed to have a good year. I got J.K. Dobbins, and I got him 9th in my dynasty rankings, along with Javonte Williams, who I got 5th in my rankings after the trade or after the re-signing of Melvin Gordon. So we're talking about a potential of 3 in the top 10. We're talking about I'm stacked. If you don't believe J.K. Dobbins, at the lowest, he's 15. At the lowest, he's 15. I'm unbelievably stacked at running back. uh, I think me and Zamil both are at the top of the line with the running backs. When Zamil and Duncan did that trade, you had to go out there and get stacked. That's what I did. That's what Will did. John Johns had a pretty solid team through in and throughout. I mean, so we're just sitting in a. The league has definitely changed from year one to year two. There's some loaded teams. Wide receiver, we got C.D. Lamb, who with the trade of Amari Cooper to Cleveland, C.D. Lamb is open to be the number one guy, and I think he's just going to thrive. We're talking about a number 3 dynasty ranked guy, and I mean, pair him up with Cooper Kupp, who is the wide receiver 1. I mean, he doesn't have to have the same production as he did last season. It's impossible to have that same production. But, man, he could still be a lesser version of that and still finish number 1, let alone top 5. So we're looking at a stacked wide receiving core along with Marquise Brown, who just got shipped to the Arizona Cardinals during the draft. And this is one I love to talk about because for some reason in this group, in this crew, Akil Galani especially, he likes to hate on Marquise Brown for some reason. He just, he picks guys he wants to hate on. Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown, happens to be that guy. This dude, he finished 22 last year, and he played the second half of the year with a backup quarterback. This guy was a number 1 receiver for a little over half the year and got as high as number 4 while he was playing with Lamar Jackson. That's alongside Mark Andrews. Put him with the Cardinals. We're talking about a wide receiver 1 here, guys. I think we have wide receiver 1 potential as long as he stays healthy. His top competition is D-Hop. I mean, I'm just saying, I think it's a big win for Marquise Brown. And for him to be my third guy, my flexes are Marquise Brown and Javonte Williams. I'm stacked. I'm loaded. My tight end is Dallas Goedert. Is this as good as these other guys? No. But tier 2, I got Dallas Goedert number 7. Like that. I mean, it is what it is. But I got some depth. I got Brandon Cooks, Kadarius Toney. Got me a draft pick coming up. Man, I got Miko Harmon and guys, I see that Kansas City drafted Sky Moore. That's a rookie if you guys haven't noticed. I'm just thinking Miko Harmon's definitely going to have a big part of this offense. I see I put him on a trade block and you guys laughed. I think you're going to be tar about that one. I think Miko Harmon is going to be set up to succeed. There's some talks about Chenault getting sent somewhere, but let's just recap it. I got Zamil, number 2, me, number 1. So if I recap it all the way, 10, I got Akil. 9, I got Jordan. 8, I got Chris. 7, I got David. 6, Micah. 5, Dunk. You're tier 2, and I suggest you let that one marinate. You're tier 2. Number 4, John. Will, number 3. Number 2, Zamil. And number 1, me. And that's how I have it, fellas. You guys can tell me where I'm right, where I'm wrong. I talked about our league for a little while today. Fellas, I'm trying to start a podcast. I want to put some information out there. I need to learn how to make a website. I got to learn how to make a Twitter. All that's, junk. Once I get it rolling, I'm definitely going to be having you guys on. Whenever y'all want to come on, we're going to talk fantasy football. Y'all just come over. We'll record. We'll talk about whatever the news is. Hopefully we're going to have some other podcasts. Jordan Harris claims he's going to do some stuff. Talk about he wants to do politics. I'm going to let him hop on that pile. I'm going to stay out the fire. Let him do that. I need to get a college football one going on. I got to have some of y'all. If y'all want to do a college football podcast, we can meet once a week. Set it up. Let's do it. I think it's a good idea down here in the Southeast. But with that said, our league now has a show. I would like to try to send y'all somehow send it to y'all in the group message. Me talking about the league specifically with y'all. If I can figure out how to do that, I'm gonna do that. This episode was just for y'all to hear, anyways, just to see if I could even talk about football for a while. But I've gone on for a little while. But with that said, like, we got a commissioner, we got a league, we got a show. We need somebody to get us a trophy. Come on, man, make the league fun. We play for money too. Whatever we got to do to make the league even more funner. Somebody needs to buy us a trophy. Real quick, fellas, I got some dynasty rankings for y'all, top 10, and I did these before the draft, so these things might be changed a little bit, but tell me where I'm right, tell me where I'm wrong. We'll start off with QB, and I'm going to go from 10 down to 1. 10, Jalen Hurts. 9, Dak Prescott. 8, Russell Wilson. 7, Lamar Jackson. 6, Joe Burrow. 5, Kyler Murray. 4, Deshaun Watson. 3, Justin Herbert. 2, Patrick Mahomes. 1, Josh Allen. My running back dynasty rankings. From 10 down, at 10, I got Dalvin Cook. At 9, I got Antonio Gibson. At 8, I got J.K. Dobbins. 7, Joe Mixon. 6, Austin Eckler. 5, Christian McCaffrey. 4, Najee Harris. 3, Javonte Williams. 2, DeAndre Swift. 1, Jonathan Taylor. And now with the Melvin Gordon news, I've got to move Javonte Williams from 3 to 5, which moves Najee Harris up to 3 and Christian McCaffrey up to 4. Javonte Williams at the 5. 21 years old, still top 5. I've got him right ahead of Austin Eckler. And last one I'm going to do is the wide receiver rankings, top 10. Tell me where I'm wrong. At 10, I got T. Higgins. 9, Devontae Adams. 8, Tyreek Hill. 7, Stephon Diggs. 6, Deebo Samuel. 5, A.J. Brown. 4, Cooper Kupp. 3, CeeDee Lamb. 2, Justin Jefferson. 1, Jamar Chase. Fellas, let me know what you thought about the podcast. Tell me what you could hear. Did you hear the theme song? Did you hear a bunch of cars going by? What else? I mean, that's about it. Just tell me what you think. You can hate on it all you want. I'm going to still put it out to the public. Try to get the fantasy football world into that world. Dunk, Jordan, Nikhil. Someone come on. I need some nerds. I need some fantasy football nerds. Hop on here every now and then with me. But, all right then, fellas. I'm out.